I'm Mark Ramsey. I'm sitting here today with Michael Robertson. Now, if you don't know the name Michael Robertson, think back to the days of MP3.com, because this is the guy who created MP3.com and all that trouble. There was a lot of hubbub in its day, wasn't it, Michael?
It sure was.
Michael is also head of something called dar.fm, dar.fm. And Michael, I know it's not new, but it's still developing. It's still evolutionary. Talk about what dar.fm is and why it matters to the radio industry.
Right. So what we did, it's actually pretty new. About 7 months ago, we released it. So last September of last year.
It feels like so long ago. I don't know
internet
why.
time. What it is we're taking the DVR concept that allows you to record things you like and listen when you like, and applying it to radio. That's why we call it DAR, the digital audio recorder, dar.fm. What we do is we've built a catalog of about 5,000 radio stations, and also a guide for those stations, and allow people to record any of the stations or shows. So if I'm a sports fan, I can go record Jim Rome. If I'm a politics fan, I can go record Rush Limbaugh. If I'm an NPR fan, I can record All Things Considered. Our system knows what days it's on, how long is the show. We record all of that for you, much like sort of a lifetime pass, a season pass on your DVR. And we do all this on the internet. So there's no equipment for the user to buy, unlike your DVR and your TV. Once we record it, you can listen from anywhere, and that's what's really exciting, is that you can go to your personal computer at work, you can go to your laptop, you can use your smartphone and listen to all of those shows, just like your DVR, rewinding, fast forwarding, finding the stuff that you like. So we're taking this amazing pile of radio content that today evaporates into space, and we'll allow people to record it and listen to it on their schedule.
So this is important because, you know, we often talk in the radio space about apps, and do you have this app, and can I get it on my iPhone, and can I... what you're talking about is something that supersedes all that, kind of a layer beyond that, to say, look, the content should be available to you anywhere, and you should have control over it, because that interactivity is another important element of this, right?
Absolutely. You know, that's what people expect today. Thanks to the iPod and, you know, web pages and DVR, people expect all media, print, video, and audio, to be available on their schedule, and to be able to rewind and fast forward. And this is what we're bringing to radio. We're giving that capability to radio content, letting people listen to it on their schedule.
So how would you describe radio's the quality of radio service in that regard to date, in terms of interactivity and digital penetration and so on? I mean, how is radio as an industry doing in giving the audience what they need in that regard?
Well, I look at radio today and see it as basically being divorced from the internet. There's really no intersection between radio content and the internet. What I mean by that is that if you look at the emails that you get or the Twitter feeds that you read, you'll see people saying, hey, go check out this article. Go look at this graphic. It's amazing. Or this video was astonishing. You will never see them say, hey, go look at this radio. Go listen to this radio content. I can't believe this was said or talked about. Radio is almost invisible to the internet, and that has to change. And the first thing it needs to do is people need to be able to record it. And then the next thing is they need to be able to tell other people about it and say, oh my gosh, you know, listen to what I listen to. And that has to be the evolution for radio to stay relevant in the internet age.
Okay, what you're saying then is, for example, right now I can point people to my stream, but what's on my stream right now isn't what was on my stream when I heard something fantastic, right?
Right.
Now I can theoretically, though, point people to a podcast that lives somewhere, can I, if something fantastic's on there?
Right. Well, podcasts are only available for a tiny amount of the content. We looked at the top 20 radio shows. Only 4 of them had podcasts.
Wow.
The other 16 didn't have a podcast.
So in other words, they were designed to be ephemeral. They were designed to start, you either hear it or you don't, then it's gone.
That's right. And
wow.
the other big problem there is that when people point you at a YouTube video, this is an example, you look down at the time. If it says 35 minutes, you don't watch it, right? People expect chicken nuggets now, not a 6-course meal. And that's what radio is, right? These 3-hour blocks, 1-hour blocks, that's too much. People want to dine and dash. And radio isn't bite-sized yet, and it needs to be. You need to be able to say, oh my God, I want to share this little clip with my friend so that that person will learn about this great show host or this great morning show, or invite that person to get engaged with radio. And that hasn't happened yet, and it will come.
Okay. So how does your solution, it doesn't solve that problem directly though, right? I mean, my ability to record the content that interests me doesn't necessarily mean I can share that content with somebody else, or does it?
It doesn't today. Today we're a personal recording service. But I think that's part of the foundation of building up from that, right? That first, people, you have to record it. When you look in our database today, we have about 22,000 radio shows across the United States.
And these are primarily talk shows, we should
These
say,
are
right?
primarily talk shows, right? 95% of them evaporate. Once they're broadcast, they just evaporate. You can't.
By design.
By design. The first step is to capture them, to store them somewhere. And then, because once that storage happens, then you can enable sharing or discussion, group discussion, all the things that people expect around the internet today, that they do around the internet. If you look at YouTube, there's a lot of videos that are a still photo and just have an audio track.
I know. Isn't that amazing? People actually go to more effort to put the still photo in than they should have to in order to convey the audio content.
Right. That's people saying, hey, I want to
share this.
I want to share. I need to share this. I want to include radio and the internet, but it's just too hard to do. And that has to change. Otherwise, radio is going to just continue to see a decline in their mind share that they get from the population.
So the fact that you say radio is kind of divorced from the internet, that's recognizing that we do all these streams, we create all this content. What you're really saying is we haven't packaged, we haven't formatted it in such a way, we haven't empowered it in such a way, we haven't plussed it in such a way as it's really usable by consumers in the way they want to use content, media content today.
Exactly. And one of the crazy paradoxes is that humans are innately scared of new things, right? If you see a dark cave, you don't think, oh, there's a pot of gold in there. No, you think, oh, there's a bear in there. It's going to eat me, right? We have a million years of DNA.
Or a zombie or a vampire in my case.
That's right. If you've got kids, it's zombies. But we have this innate fear of the unknown. And I saw that when I was with the record labels and did MP3. They feared the unknown. They feared what the internet could do.
Did.
And it took a long time for them to realize, hey, this could be good for our business. We can actually make more. We don't have to deal about packaging, and we can sell our old catalog and all these wonderful things. That's where radio is today. When I tell people or show people DAR, one of the first questions I get is like, hey, won't they use that fast forward to skip the commercials? I mean, it's the first thing they say. And this is not new, right? When TiVo came out 10 years ago, the TV guy said the same thing. And yes, it's true. Some people skip commercials. But a fascinating thing happens. More people watch TV.
Right. More people go to the show. More people discover the show.
So even if you take out those commercials that were skipped, total TV viewing over the last 10 years is up a whopping 40%. That's huge.
So to your point then, for a show that maybe has a moderate level of awareness, not an incredibly famous show, for a tool like this, it allows people potentially to skip the commercials, but more importantly, it allows people to get more of that content, to share more of that content with others, and to turn on other people to the show, right? Which introduces new people to the station, not just DAR.FM, right?
Right. I'd contend that in any business, right, whether it's DAR.FM, my recording service, or whether it's a home improvement radio show, your number one issue is always marketing. It's always awareness. How do people even know you exist? Exactly. Yeah. And so as a smart business, you must use every weapon you have to get that awareness. Because without that awareness, you never get the audience to try to make money from. And I think that's where radio is at. They've got to leverage these technologies so that they stay relevant, so they increasingly, grab that attention from users, and it doesn't evaporate to social networks or move to video games or move to YouTube or whatever.
Well, we talk about the primacy of content, right? We talk about content being king in this context, and yet we deliberately constrain the ways in which people can get that content, how they can use that content, their ability to share that content, and so on. So it's kind of self-defeating from the onset, isn't it?
It is, especially when consumers expect everything to be on their, they don't understand why if the show that I want to listen to is on my drive to work, Why can't I listen to it on my drive home? That doesn't make any sense to today's consumer. And I agree with them. And that's why we're making smartphone apps where you can listen to the first half of the show in the morning and the second half in the show, when you're doing your afternoon jog.
This is something I felt keenly, and we talked about this when I listened to SiriusXM, because there's so much content there, and it's so ephemeral. It's promoted, there it is, it's gone, you missed it, these huge things that you miss. And yet I'm amazed that they haven't reached out to you and said, wow, if we only had a tool like this, not only could we provide more value to subscribers, but this is value that they would probably pay a premium for, to know that I could, for example, record Howard Stern every day automatically without having to do anything. And it's just there for me whenever I want it. There's a serious value to that.
There is. And I think the other part of our business that we do is that we not only record it, but we try really hard to let you listen to it on any device. So you can listen to it on your Sonos internet radio. You can listen to it on any smartphone. You can listen to it on your tablet, on your PC, of course. We're working with Roku. So if you've got a Roku, they've sold about 2 million of those in living rooms around the United States. You can listen to anything you've recorded. So it's the discovery part, but it's also let them listen to it on any speakers that they have in their entire house. And I think that's another exciting part of what we're trying to do.
Okay, in terms of devices, let me ask you this one last question. The device we all want to talk about in radio nowadays is the car. That's where all the action is going on in the dashboard. iHeartRadio's in there, TuneIn, some other apps in there, and a whole lot of other stuff that isn't radio is moving in there as well, in addition to Pandora and all the rest. How do you see kind of the relationship between the mobile, the mobile device and the car dashboard going forward? How engaged is your company in what's going on in that dash? Just how do you see the relationship between those two things playing out?
Well, we don't spend 1 second working with any car companies because, it's a strategic choice. But here's our thought. The smartphone is advancing so fast. If you look at this, Galaxy, I have here from Android, the type of computation that's in here and the screen and the memory is so phenomenal. It is generations ahead of anything in any car. And it will only keep advancing.
And the rate is faster, much faster too than what happens in cars, right?
Absolutely. So we believe what's going to happen is that the cars are simply going to adapt to the smartphone. There isn't going to be, you're not going to have to work with Nissan and Ford and GM and, 27 different car platforms, which is what happens today. And it takes years of advanced planning to get in there. We believe the smartphone is going to take over the entire market, and the car is just going to become smartphone aware. It's going to take your display from your smartphone and stick it on a big screen, and everything's going to come from a smartphone and not from a proprietary car system that's only in 2014, Ford Explorer S models or whatever that might be.
So let's play that out a little bit. If I'm a broadcaster, does that imply I either need my own custom app, or what is the implication for me as a broadcaster about that scenario?
You definitely need an app on those two smartphone platforms that matter, which is iOS and Android. That's where you should invest any of your R&D money is in apps on those two platforms.
And DAR.FM figures into that equation how?
Well, we have apps that take anything you record and let you listen to it on iOS or Android. And there's two different ways that we allow them to do that. One is streaming, much like Pandora does. But we also have apps that do downloading.
So that circumvents the whole problem of bandwidth, right?
Exactly. This circumvents the problem of, I don't want to blow up my 3G data plan, or I don't have a data plan, or I drive in an area or take a subway where there's no data. What you can do is use one of the apps that we provide, which automatically downloads anything you've recorded while you're at work over your company Wi-Fi. And then when you jump in your car or your subway or whatever, all those recordings are right there, and you can play them without any data access. When you get home, it'll say, oh, there's some new recordings, and use your home Wi-Fi as well. So at DAR, we try to offer both streaming and downloading solutions.
The interesting thing about this is that none of it matters unless there's content. So it really comes back to that kind of pressure point on broadcasters to say, hey, much like television, right? we can have all the technology, we can create, but ultimately it comes down to having great content and enough of it to fill the appetites that people have.
That's true. And I would contend the content is out there, but it's hidden right now. I ask people, what is radio's Pawn Stars? You know Pawn Stars?
Sure.
Buried on the History Channel. You would never listen to it except because the DVR lets you record it, and it's one of the most highest ranked shows on cable. What's that equivalent for radio? It's out there. But today it's impossible to find because that great show host that might be in St. Louis or Memphis or Tallahassee or whatever, you have no way of knowing about them and getting that out to the world. And radio needs to foster new talent so that it's not just about music. Because if it's just about music, they're going to lose that market share to Pandora or iTunes.
Anything else that can play music.
That's right. They have to foster that talent. It's out there. It just needs to be discovered and cultured.
And the talent has historically really been what radio is famous for.
Absolutely.
Michael Robertson is the head of, was the head of mp3.com, best known for that, but now the head of dar.fm. And for further information, people should just go to the website or? Yeah,
go to dar.fm. There's a video there on the front page, how it works. Watch the video. And then, of course, email me. There's a link on that main page. You want to have a special question or criticism?
He has his own email address right there on the front page.
That's right. It goes right to me. You'll get a response.
He actually answered it. That's why I'm here. Michael Robertson, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.